Do a fair use, fair use. I'm not making any money. Just for educational purpose and criticism. Fair use, fair use. I'm not making any money. Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai. All praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Kahaloyim Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakwadash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect, shalom to the elect, to the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom to your sisters, your chwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This is your brother Ram Yahawada with the lesson. Yeah, so this is so we got basically this is Tag 24 News, uh, dealing with Trump politics. Saying Trump tears into NATO alliance, unhinged post, cowards, and we will remember, right? Calling NATO cowards and saying, hey, we're going to remember that. This is Trump calls NATO cowards over lack of support in Iran war. Trump, and that was the GV Wire, and it says Trump criticizes NATO alliance as cowards over Iran conflict support. This is food, drink recipes. Wow. Well, I guess it's news. When it's news, it's news again. Politics. Desetti. No, this talk. This talk something Chicago.com. However you say that. But basically politics. Trump labels NATO cowards for failing to support U.S. in Strait of Hormuz. Oh, Forbes, you making big, you in big time if you're on Forbes. You're in the big leagues if you're on Forbes. Trump calls NATO cowards for not joining Iran war conflict. Very little military. Yeah, that was Forbes. So it's out there. This is Daily Mail. Trump hits out at NATO cowards for refusing to help open the Strait of Hormuz. Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. That's crazy. Yeah. So this is Revelation chapter 17, verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou saw upon the beasts, these shall hate the whore, right? And those 10 horns is what? Belgium, right? Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Netherlands, Greece, Spain, was it Spain, England, and Western Germany, right? But you also got Portugal and Ireland, right? Which they were talking about taking over Greenland, right? So they're already in the mindset of hating the whore, which whore representing America. It says, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, which meaning the hypersonic or nuclear, because maybe they don't have hypersonic, but they do have nuclear, which I believe France and England have a nuclear deterrent, right? But it's all going to work out for the Most High's plan, right? Because this is the Lord's plan for the power, right? Have put in their hearts, la'ab, their mind, right, to fulfill His will. See, so all of it's going to be set up for the Most High's will. See, He's calling them cowards, but the reason why they're not joining in is because they already hate her. They hate the whore, right? These shall hate the whore, and now we're in that hour, in that time frame, when obviously they're showing hate. That's not love. You know, if my friend is getting into some beef, whether he's right or wrong, you know, you're jumping in too. Not to mention, America's been this place where, you know, you can get rich. Why wouldn't I believe joining in will benefit me? Let me join in so they can get what they want, and in that way, we could benefit. We'll all benefit. We'll divvy up the money and we'll benefit. Well, there really is no necessarily benefit to it, because guess what? They become more of the devil, more totalitarian, right? And so calling them a coward only furthers the hatred, right? But this is all part of the Lord's plan to put that in their mind, right? Because matter of fact, what it says, right here, Job chapter 33, verse 15 says, in the dream, in the vision of the night, when deep sleep fall upon men and women, right? It's talking about mankind, men. Hey, but the Lord can even make it do that to animals. When an animal falls asleep, you wonder why people get attacked by certain animals, even especially like it bug you out when people get attacked by their own animal. Like this person's been with this animal, it's been their pet for quite some time, and all of a sudden they things just go crazy or something happens. Well, things get sealed while you're asleep. You know, animals dream too, right? When they sleep, they dream. So, you know, that's why everything is the Lord's army. Everything ultimately belongs to the Lord. That's why he is the Father of spirits. That's why it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. Because look, when deep sleep fall upon men, in slumbering upon the bed, He openeth the ear of men and sealeth the instructions. See, so ultimately, the Lord put that says into their hearts. Heart in the Hebrew means la'ab. It's basically their mind. Your ear. If you know where your ear is, you have a thing called an ear, throat, and nose doctor, right? Because they know that all this thing is all connected. Your ear, your nose, your brain, you know, because it's your head, you know. So when your ear, it goes right into your ear, right into your mind, right into your heart. Your heart is actually talking about your mind, right? And seal, right? Basically, when something's sealed, it's enclosing it in it, like it can't get out. Like that's the instructions to it. The sealing the instructions, it's done. You know what I mean? Ain't no going back, right? So now these shall hate the whore, right? That's the instructions, that he may withdraw man from his purpose. And see, and their whole purpose was what? That they continue their rulership forever. But they're gonna actually ruin it. They're not gonna their purpose of ruling forever, being the Edomites, ruling forever, is not going to take place. Their purpose in trying to steal the blessing is going to fail, and partially in part why? Because they're against each other, right? And hide pride from him, right? Because right now, what's happening? I mean, on the world stage, Donald Trump is looking foolish, but at this point, he represents the Edomites. So not only is he looking silly and this is for the whole Edomite culture, but you don't see it that way, because once America goes down, according to the scriptures, which is Babylon, all of you nations go down. But because the Lord's withdrawing your purpose from you, and what you set out to do, it's going to be taken from you, right? Yeah, it says, and he keepeth back his soul from the pit, and his life from perishing by the sword. So it depends. See, the Lord either or. The Lord can speak to you to cause you to not go a certain direction, or do this or do that, so that it spares your life. But he also can instruct it to you walk right into it. You know that like that movie Final Destination. Those are all, why they could never get away from it, because it was all the instructions of the Lord. What was it? That movie, Knowing, The Knowing. I was watching a little bit of that on TV the other day, and I was like, damn, that's kind of like the Final Destination. I thought about it. Knowing, and the little kid writes down all those little numbers, and they end up being dates, and then the amount of people that's going to perish, and it's exactly that date and exactly that amount of people, which means that's the instruction. That was the instruction of the Lord, that it had to be that day. It was going to be that amount of people that were going to perish, because that was the number that the Lord has instructed, already have ordained to perish that day. Same thing with this war. How many people? Because they already had so-called 500 soldiers injured or unalived, which they're not really being incisive about that, but they're not really trying to say. They just keep saying 3 and 4. Oh, there's 5 people, but there's a bigger numbers than that. And then suppose they had 700 other soldiers kidnapped. POW, right? What they call it. Right? So, yeah. So this is Psalms chapter 49, verse 11. It says, their inward thoughts is that their houses shall continue forever. See, and this is their purpose, that they're thinking, hey, we're going to continue forever. But how can you, when you're bickering against each other? You can't even figure out a fundamental thing to fight these people so you can get the oil. Because guess what? If they can get the oil, you make a promise. Okay, you make a thing. If we help you with that, you cannot charge us more, or we got to get the barrels cheaper than we could get it from Russia. We got to be able to get the power cheaper than we can get it from Russia, which will build your economy back up, right? Especially Germany. Germany needs it, right? You get the highest thing because you had the Mercedes, BMW, and now those are tanking. The most famous cars that's ever been, and now it's basically like these things never, almost is gonna be to the point where it's like they never existed, right? Which technically that's the way that the Lord wanted to go, but you should be thinking like that. If you really want your kingdom to go on forever, to continue forever, their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places, right? So you're dwelling in Europe, your Edomites is dwelling in America, Canada, all your dwelling places that you're dwelling all over the place, South Africa, was it Australia, all the little places you Edomites are at. You want to keep that, You're all in the Middle East and stuff, or what they call the Middle East, which really is Western Asia, right? Southwestern Asia, right? Right? But you're all in these places, and Don't you want to keep that? You know, places to all generations. So going into the next generations, children. So that way they have it. You know, they call their lands after their own names, right? So that's why they'd be proud. This is George Washington Street. This is, you know, whatever, all these different names, that they have, and they can look back and go, see, that's an Edomite. See, we're great people. We're great. See, what have you black people ever did? They can look you in the face, like even Trump. He got up there and named off all these inventions. Well, yeah, we did, and they were all inventions that Jake made. All of them, every single one he talked about, really came from a so-called black man, which is really an Israelite, man. Right? Because we're the former of all things, man. All things come from us. But hey, when you got the power, you could just get up there and throw out a bunch of rhetoric. But when you have your generations and they need something to have some pride, that's what they're doing. But that's why the Lord said your pride is going to be taken from you, right? Dwelling places to generations, to all generations, and that's not talking about every person. Oh, well, see, right here it says all, so that means me too. No, that don't mean me. Every president that's ever been president has been related in some fashion or form. Related. They're all cousins, second cousins, third cousins, fifth cousins, right? They're all related. Every president. So that's not talking about me, because it says all, right? The Rothschilds is not going to invite me to I don't know. I don't even celebrate Christmas, but I'm pretty sure they don't either. They celebrate some Satan, right? But they're going to invite me to Christmas dinner, so to speak, just to say, they didn't even want to invite me to a family cookout. Shit, you know what I mean? Hey, I'm having. You want to come on? Yeah, they're not. They don't get down. They just got their generation, their family, and they've always doing the evil schemes, right? Says they call their lands after their own names. Nevertheless, men being in honor abideth not. See, men of true honor, they don't really abide, but they brag them, they pride themselves on this thing as if they have these men of honor because we created this and we created that and we did this and everything is because of the Edomite, and it's absolutely false. But because they have the power, they're in the power seat, and people believe the rich and not the poor, they could just keep forwarding their lies and that BS because they're looking at you like, yeah, you're just a poor black guy from the ghetto. You're just talking crazy. You poor ghetto, you poor ghetto, crazy guy, because we know mental health is rampant in the ghetto. So yeah, you're just mentally disturbed. Another ghetto mentally disturbed person. Yeah, but honor abideth not. Yeah, he is like the beasts that perish, and that's what's about to happen, man. You're really getting set up for the kill. It says, but it says this, their way is their folly. See, so while you're trying to continue your kingdom forever, you letting Trump fight that all by yourself. But that's really ultimately that's going to be folly, and it's going to be the shame for your glory. It's not a bright idea that you're not helping them. But even if you do help them, the Lord has it set up that you're going to lose either which way. So help them or don't help them, you're going to lose. But it would make more sense for you to help them because you not helping them is ultimately folly. Yet their posterity proves their sayings, right? Yeah, so it's their posterity confirms their words. So posterity refers to all future generations. So it's talking about their children will come back and their generations, and they in power. They end up being, well, the presidents for one. Those are all reincarnated, regenerated Caesars and people who lived before who was a part of the Edomite power structure, and that's why they all have to be part of that same lineage to make sure that those particular people come back in that lot. You know what I mean? But they're all family. Every president's been related. You know, all that. One day you could be president. You know, when you grow up, which is all a lie. You know, that's not anybody could just be a president. You know, though they try to make it seem like it. You know, because if you think about even the thing with Barack Obama, he just popped up out of nowhere. No one's ever been talking about him like that. Like, you know, he just pops up out of nowhere. I mean, and then Trump, people know Trump, but who would ever think this guy who ran beauty pageants and did reality TV series could ever be the president? You know, but hey, but it's speaking about their generations, their descendants, or people born after one's own time, which is talking about their own generations. That's why it said their generations. So it's only their children enhances what their words, their you know, that their kingdom shall be going on forever. You know, they forward the lies ultimately. You know what I'm saying? And then of course they end up getting the power, the military, all these different things. And then they forward the lies, you know, they put it in the curriculum, the educational system, this and that. So in the eyes and the mind of the world, they're only thinking about these things as great people. But the Lord said there's really no honor amongst them. But they will perish like an animal for sacrifice, because that's what you are. You're set up for the sacrifice of the elect. Yeah. So this is Psalms chapter 17, verse 12 says, like as a lion that is greedy of his prey, and as it were a young lion lurking in secret places. And that's what they do, man. That's what they're going to be doing. This Palantir, all this thing is to surveillance you, to be able to have you as a prey on a daily basis, you know, micro C hip you to have you on as a prey on a daily basis, right? But you know, that's not for us. That's not for the Lord's anointed, right? And hopefully, you know, you brothers and you sisters that actually believe and fully committed into this, that you're that elect, and you're going to be delivered, because it says, arise, O Yahweh, right? And we know that Yahweh Shai is right on the right hand of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, right? Disappoint him, right? Who's the him that the Lord's talking about disappointing? Cast him down. Deliver my soul from the what? From the wicked. And that's him, Esau, Edom, the wicked, right? All you Edomites, all your dwelling places in the world, right? That's what you want to do. You want to be that your dwelling places go on forever. You know, England and France and Spain and Portugal and you know, you want it to go on forever, but then at the same time, you're about a bunch of folly. Hey, because maybe you are cowards that you don't want, you must don't want. But hey, it's all, even if you fought, you're gonna lose. Why? Because it's what the Lord said. Look, this proves you're gonna lose no matter what you do. So, but it's good that you do it that way, because guess what? As the Lord says, what it says, oh Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Kakadash, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. So this is what you're doing. You're using your military might and going throughout the whole earth, being the hammer of the earth, being you know, and all you're doing is using your blessing, because the Lord has taken the wisdom from Teman. So now none of you people are wise. It's not a wise thing that you're doing. It's really folly, but it's fallen into the plans of the Lord, right? So these shall hate the whore, and the Lord's going to have it, put it in your heart. La'ab, your mind. He's sealing it in your dreams, and that's what you're doing, and you can't help it, right? The Lord's going to deliver us, which from the wicked, which is his sword. And the Lord causes Esau to go around and checkmate some people, you know, because some people they need judgment. So the Lord uses Esau to put judgment on the earth, but at the ultimate end, he's set up to be like a beast for slaughter. That he's going to be judged. That's what he don't. That's what that pride, because he's been able to like do it and go untouched. Well, now you're in a time where you're about to be touched, right? From men which are thy hand, right? The left hand. They're the ones that set up to judge wicked nations and wicked people, right? Even though they're wicked themselves. But the Lord set it up that because the Lord's going to set them up for the kill, right? Right, what he said, for down like a beast headed to slaughter, right? It says, "Oh Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakadash, from men of the world," right? And that's Esau. He's a man of the world. He's not spiritual. He's super carnal. That's why he's going to implement the micro C hip implantation for the implantation, which is going to make the world a slave. Make the world a slave, right? Make the world slaves from which have their portion in this life. See, and they have their portion in this life. You know what I mean? They have plenty of riches and this and that, and that's what they fort. They fort to their posterity, and when it has their posterity, which are the generations that come after them, when they come back in the reincarnation or regeneration, they just keep forwarding the agenda that for their kingdom should go on forever. See, which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hidden treasure. See, they're rich. The Lord filled their belly with it. See, and it's showing you that the Lord's setting you up for the kill. Because guess what happens when all this happens? This immensely amount of freaking pride comes on people. I'm rich, I'm this, and I'm going around the world. I'm assassinating people and doing this, and then no actual judgments happen to me. Oh, I must can do this forever, and you start getting a weird thought, like somehow you think you're going to be able to go on forever. So they are full of children and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. See, that posterity. And so they're forwarding the thing to that their kingdoms will go on forever. But it's all folly when this is Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. And Yahushai, right? Because the letter J is only 4,500 years old. There's no E's in the Paleo Hebrew, right? That's why we say Bahasham, not Bahashim, Bahasham. But it is what it is, But it says, and Yahushai know their thoughts, right? Your mind, La'ab, mind, heart, your mind, and said unto them, every kingdom, right? This is what this is what they want to do. Their kingdom, right? Their dwelling places, right? Which would be kingdoms, the kingdom of England, France, Spain. Those are all supposed to be like a kingdom, the kingdom of America, kingdom of Canada. Those are all kingdoms, providences, really, because whoever the actual king is, of the Edomites, which is the head of the Illuminati or whatever they call it, some type of shadow government or cabal or whatever they are. That's the actual king. But these are all providence. But in order to keep it all, the providences and the kingdom all together, right? Every kingdom divided. So when once down, you have a whole kingdom. You got all these different providence, and then obviously now you're divided. Trump is a complete representation of the Edomite kingdom at this time. He's definitely the mascot. He's been your beacon of hope, right? Especially when you're putting pictures of Trump on a British flag. You putting Charlie Kirk on a British flag, putting his face on a British flag. It shows you that America is your hope. But then now all of a sudden you're not helping them. You're there's no more hope in it. No, you're divided. Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. See, and that's what's happening. The Lord's got you set up for the slaughter. It says, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And that's what's happening. You're divided because you're at the time of the toes, partly strong, partly broken. When it's broken, it's not part of that thing, because you had to mix the clay, the miry clay, with the iron, and it looks good at first. You smooth it out, it looks good. You pull it, you step back, it looks good. But over time, the clay dries out. It's flaking off, and that's what you guys do. That's what you're doing. You're flaking out, and you're flaking off. And you're divided, and you cannot stand. Against itself cannot stand. Right? And Satan, which that's what you are our adversary, right? Right? Because I believe this was talking about the spiritual demon Satan, but you're Satan on earth, right? Cast out Satan. See, the spiritual demon Satan ain't going to cast out Satan. He's not going to cast out his demon because he got a stronghold over that person. He got that person possessed or whatever it is. He's not going to go, oh, yeah, well, let me go over and cast this thing out in the name of JC. It doesn't make sense. JC is a demon, right? So, it's just not happening, right? And if it does, it's going to fall apart, which that's what's happening now. The Christian church is falling apart. America's falling apart. Your whole Edomite system is falling apart, right? Right? You had the Nord Stream going there. They blew up one of them. Now you only get one. And then now even that, Russia's talking about diverting that to China. So you're not going to have your whole kingdom, everything that you guys had pride in. Oh, yeah, like I was going into that thing with Germany. Things you had pride in, the greatest cars came out of Germany. So you don't even got that now. Right? Everything's falling apart. But if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. And that's what you are. You're the physical counterpart of Satan, which is our adversary on earth. Right? Right? Satan is our spiritual op, and you're our physical op, right? And you work hand in hand with each other. But at the same time, the Lord have you divided from Satan and divided from yourselves. And he is divided against himself, right? How shall then his kingdom stand? See, and that's where you're at, man. Your kingdom, it can't stand much longer. It can't stand at all. Right? To come back right here, the Revelation 17, for the power of the Most High Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushua, Bahasham Rachach Wadash, have put in their heart, which is La'ab, their mind, to fulfill his will and to agree to give their kingdom unto the beast. Right? Which that's NATO, that's Europe, the European Union, right? Until the word of the power of the Most High Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushua, Bahasham Rachach Wadash, shall be fulfilled. Right? Which them separating, oh yeah, we ain't helping you with this. We're the European nations. We ain't gonna come help you. We'll just let you fight your own fight over there. Okay, well, Satan being divided against Satan, your kingdom, all your dwelling places, all these Edomite dwelling places that you thought you were gonna have forever, you're stepping back like that, ain't gonna help you at all. But the Lord set it up that way for you to do that. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which is talking about Babylon, which is America. So they're separating from America, and they're going to hate the whore, which is America. And this is them not coming in to help you is definitely showing you hatred, right? And it says, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which is Babylon, which reigneth over the kingdom, the kings of the earth. Right? Because Trump was able to go in there, you get a tariff, and you get a tariff, and you over there get a tariff. You know what I'm saying? Showing he's the king of the earth. Right? It says 7 U.S. allies back potential Strait of Hormuz coalition, right? Yeah. So is it coalition, right? Coalition. Is it a coalition? Is a temporary alliance of distinct groups, parties, or nations joining forces to achieve a common goal or shared power, often formed when a single entity cannot act alone. And that's where Trump is at. He's acting alone, but he's not. It's not good. It's not a good thing for him right now. Yeah, he's acting alone, and really he can't act alone. That's why he's trying to get NATO to come in, but they're bucking up. It represents a grouping, a growing together of diverse interests for a specific purpose, such as governing or advocacy, right? So they're supposed to be there to, and negotiate. They're not talking about helping fight, but we'll align with you to negotiate. Which at this point, I don't think they're even doing that. Yeah. So right here it says 7 U.S. allies announced in a joint statement on Thursday their support for a potential coalition to reopen the Strait of Hormuz for commercial ships and oil tankers. It says a reality check. The statement does not include any commitment to send naval vessels or other resources to make that happen. For now, it's largely a gesture to placate President Trump. Let's look up that word. Placate. So placate means to stop someone from feeling angry, upset. So they're just making a gesture. They're making that a little thing. They just, okay, yeah, we'll do. Oh yeah, we'll join your little coalition. We ain't sending you any help. We're not sending you no money. We ain't sending you no bullets. We ain't sending you no food. We ain't sending you any type of help. But it's just to placate, to stop one from feeling angry, right? And that's all they do. They, appeasing them, right? So who has railed against allies and declining to help secure the strait, and warned that a failure to do so could undermine, right, the future of NATO, right? Yeah. See. So a kingdom divided against itself, it can't stay. You're gonna have a future, because that's the whole. Was it posterity? It meant your future generation. So you're gonna undermine all your future generations by doing this, right? Yeah, so this is Obadiah chapter 1, verse 6. Say, how are the things of Esau, which your Esau's descendants are Edomites, right? So you're basically Esau, Edom, represents you self-proclaimed so-called white people, you know? And how are all the things of Esau searched out? You know, well, first of all, you judge a man by his fruits. And everywhere you've been, you've been a thief, right? You know, even against your own brother, right? I was listening to a thing one of the brothers sent, and Jake was breaking down what happened during the time that Germany brought in what people know as the Jews today. And they said that they basically brought them in and they let them, you know, be part of their society. But as soon as they got a chance to get into the banking, get into the politics, they basically took over. And when the whole fight in World War I happened, that the Germans actually won, but then they went behind their back and paid for America to join in. And they were saying they would have never thought these people who they helped when no one else would help would do that to them. But that's a kingdom that's separated against the king, because people are going to remember those things. They're going to remember that you came against them in that fashion, and that's why who is America helping? America's helping those very people who did that, right? The least of the flock should draw you out. So now that you're out, the hidden things are sought up, because what? You keep doing the same old things over and over again, proving that you were the Greeks of your time, you were the Romans of your time, because of the greed. We can go back into the time when the Greeks were in power and they had the gold and the silver within their money, and they exhausted the money and basically went into debt and pulled the gold and the silver out of the money, and then the same thing happened when you became the Romans. You had gold and silver and the money, and then when things, because you kept exhausting yourself in all these fights and in all these wars, which proved that you have to be those same people all over again, because you're exhausting yourself. You're in complete debt in America, and your military is spread thin. It's in all. You're over there trying to fight a war against the cartels. You got military over in Haiti. You got military in Nigeria. You're fighting a fight on all sorts of fronts. Nigeria, Congo. You know, you got military on the American streets. And you're trying to fight against Iran. You showing you that you have to be the same. How are your hidden things searched out? You have to be those people. We know that Alexander the Great, his father from Macedon, and when you go back, I believe it's in the editions of Esther's, it showed that he was his descendant goes back to Edom, right? Goes back to Haman, the Agagite. So Alexander's father was an Agagite, which made Alexander Agagite, which goes to those Amalekites, right? So your thing is all searched out, man. So you are Edom. Going back to the Greeks, to the Romans, and to this very day, all you do is fight. When has America not had a year of fight? And now you're in another forever war, because you're not coming home. You're not coming home. You're not going to bring those troops home at all, because the least of the flock have drawn you out, right? How are the hidden things searched up? Sought up, Salakia. Sought up, Salakia. Sought up. And that's how, man. Through the pain, through struggles, through your oppression, people are actually coming out saying, "Yeah, I remember. That's when they did this. That's when they did this and they did that to us." You know what I mean? I mean, I was gonna put in the thing that I'm gonna just end it with this, but also I'll just say it. Trump also had a some type of a formal meeting, and it was public, and said something that said like a racial slur against a Japanese woman, and said like a Pearl Harbor term, like some type of racial Pearl Harbor term, when Japan is your ally. And they haven't forgot about the fat boy and little man that you dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki 80 some odd years ago. They haven't forgotten. These are your allies. In the midst of you're in war, you're gonna make a racial joke against your ally in the middle of a war. Hey man, see, it shows you that, hey, there's no you're not smart. It says all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, right? You're all, this so-called coalitions, these different NATO, you got these alliances, and these supposed to be your allies, right? Have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have to say, yeah, see, they were at peace with you. But now these shall hate the whore. They were at peace with you, but they hate you now. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. See, they're ultimately going to deceive you and prevail against thee. They that ate thy bread, and how many billions of dollars did we give Ukraine? And then Lazinski is saying, yeah, I'll teach you how to fight against the Iran's drone, but you got to give me money. You got to do XYZ for me in order for me to teach you. But what about the billions of dollars that we gave you? How do we get paid back? How do we get any of that back? We just supposed to just give you money for your war, but now it's like, oh yeah, you need help? What you gonna do for me? Well, we already did everything for you, Lazinski. Well, ain't we, but this BS government, one who's been deceived, and then they have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that ate thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is what? No understanding in him. Yeah, there ain't no understanding in you when you're talking crazy about the lady in Japan. I don't even know her what position, but that was just crazy. You're in the middle of a war, and you're saying you need all the allies that you can get, to be honest, and you're gonna make a racial comment about Pearl Harbor to your ally, and then you did it publicly. There's no understanding in this guy. And then for Lazinski and all these other people to be saying whatever they're saying, and you're the only thing you can say is they're cowards, and you'll remember, hey, well, that's to be determined, right? But we know you're not coming back. It will be the third World War III. The Battle of Armageddon, and the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai, and you people are not coming back. So with all that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodesh. Yeah, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops of Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect, shalom, shalom to the elect, to the Israelite foreigners, phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and has come back to the fold. Shalom to you sisters, your chwakim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and above all, and Kwam Yasharallah.